morning. Welcome to another edition of XFeed. Today we're doing an earlier stream, and we might end up doing earlier streams because some days the day gets away. And it was like 10 o'clock last night, and I'm like, do I stream? Do I not stream? And maybe we'll just aim for some earlier ones. But thanks for tuning in. We got a lot to go over as we missed yesterday. But with all that being said, I feel like we're in a very, very weird time where we have an absolute abundance of positivity around regulations, acceptance, broad scope, integration, you name it. It's good. However, there's still a lot of things that on an individual level, on a smaller player level, have not been going so famously. Just in, Vietnam passes law officially recognizing crypto assets. Phenomenal. Now, this isn't necessarily crypto related, but Clement here went out to Disney World. They said a couple of observations. Shocked by how expensive everything was, but still packed. Disney is the greatest IP business of all time, which I would almost argue, like, is it not weird that it feels like most of Disney's success is still predicated on its previous movies and everything that it's done? Like, I feel recently it's not, like, sure, Disney owns Star Wars, everything else around it, but I feel like the past is still dominating what the present is. Americans are out of shape, okay? And the top crypto IPs are undervalued. Just getting things that people love is really what it's about. And then I saw this. It's funny. You see one post about something, and then it just keeps going down, down, down the list. The Princess Breakfast at Disneyland with my kids almost spit up my coffee. They paid $937. Yeah. I mean, hell yeah for the $150 tip, but that's insane. And thankfully, they posted a photo of what it looked like. So if you went to Disneyland, would you pay $900 plus, well, basically $1,000 for that? Apparently, there was like 5 people that went, so there you go. Loki saying Pixelmon NFTs are now trading below the floor prices they had right after the rug revealed nearly 3 years ago. So isn't the space just weird? Pixelmon decided they were going to redo their art. There was a famous character named Kevin, which was like this zombie character that was going for like 5 ETH or something at the time. Pixelmon got all this craze. And I've listened to the founder speak, and I would make the argument that they're probably one of the more interesting people to hear talk in the space. So I do want to give credit on that front. But it seems like things just aren't picking up traction. And then so like you type in Pixelmon, and all this stuff is Minecraft mods. It's not even the Pixelmon NFT itself. You have to type that up, and then it's like pixelmon.ai here. And going through, welcome to the Novethera, transforming gaming into more than just a game. One thing that I've not been able to like comprehend, I can't comprehend it, but it's just, it feels bad, is the names of planets, characters, creatures. We've used everything under the sun. And like Novethera, I mean, it is what it is. But if you pay attention to all these different IP creations lately, some of the names are just so far-fetched, but you're just like, all right, you kind of have to because that's what it is. So Games Midcore Games Warden's Accent. They have a couple of these, it looks like mobile games. And I thought Pixelmon was something completely different. But let's click whatever this is just to see. Right trigger, right back. So this is on a controller. It's got skill trees. I feel like the music is made by AI. Are you listening to the music? Listen to how wonky it is. It's like, it's trying to be medieval, but then there's like, so like Slash going on a guitar, just hamming a riff, and it doesn't flow right. I don't know. Not to complain about things, but yeah, so I have no idea what exactly is going on with Pixelmon, but it seems like that's not the focus, or the game is something that's not the other ones, and then the IP chain. I mean, they should have just went all in on Kevin. You have one thing that's a major success, and you don't take advantage of it. What are we doing? Peter Parker not the Spider-Man, but the NFT enjoyer. Am I an idiot for thinking NFTs are going to have another run? I don't think they'll reach prices we saw last bull run, but they got to have their time again, right? Right. And my only argument with this is it's predicated on tokens doing well, right? So if you see Ethereum fly, you can see some of the communities benefit from it. For tokens that are associated with NFTs, right? Like Cyberkongs, they have Banana. Doodles, they have the Dudes. Anime, they got Zuki, Fluffs, Root. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. And so if the tokens do well, you could see people that are like, hey, you know what? I really love this community. We have liquidity. I'm not going to hop, skip, and jump to different communities, which if something goes bad in a particular community, that's generally what we see. And why I've been saying, I think that there's still absolutely a market for all these digital goods because people are obsessed and they love this stuff. And they'll keep jumping around until they find something that they truly love. So the Call of Duty League, the championship weekend's coming up. There's a lot of talk about the fact that they're not advertising, yada, yada. But what's interesting is emotes. And when we're using it for the digital asset goods kind of component, all of this stuff, like League of Legends, you buy skins, you can't transfer those skins, you'd have to sell those accounts. Oh, those are against terms of service. And if a certain emote, whatever, is not available in the store, then there's literally no way of ever getting it. I don't get, even if it's like small amounts of money, that like emotes and stuff like this aren't just one-time things, and then they could end up being sold instead of having to sell an account. Because sure, maybe we don't care about emotes, maybe we don't care about Call of Duty, but you never know. Down the line, 6 months from now, somebody that misses the event that gets super into Call of Duty, maybe has a little bit of extra capital to spend. I want to go and buy those things, but they can't. Okay, so on the stream, like 2 days ago, I brought up Molina, who is a crypto content creator. And I've enjoyed their videos. And there was a post the other day of her looking like she woke up, said, hey, good morning. And you would think absolutely nothing of it except for myself, where, earlier in that day, there was all these random scam posts from that account. And I was like, that's kind of weird. And I actually responded, if you check out my replies, I responded to one of the posts saying this is a scam. So whoever hacked the account deleted all the posts of that. They waited a couple of hours, and then they acted as if the account was not compromised, right? And so if you weren't active, if you didn't see the post from before, you would have absolutely no idea. And then they started re-showing something different that wasn't exactly the same. And I was wondering, is Molina going to do a breakdown of exactly what happened for you and I at home to be able to make sure that we catch this in the act? And curious if you feel like you would have caught this, because I want to say that I think I would have, but let's go over it. To continue proving that it is in fact me back on my account, let me show you what happened to this lovely Father's Day Sunday. I was home and wanted to catch up on my emails when I saw this appear in my inbox. It says, @girlintheverse page contains a content-related issue. I feel like that's kind of the first sign of what the hell is a content-related issue. Hey, Girl in the Verse, we assessed a report issue with the content on your page and concluded that it violates our X community standards. Now, this isn't super strange because I'm going to go over something in a minute where the entirety of X crypto, maybe that's a little bit hyperbolic, but there was a massive attack in terms of like accounts getting reported, suspended, whatever. So this is actually eerily kind of around that same time. The decision was made on June 15th. To address this, please follow these steps. Please review the content to ensure it aligns with our community standards. If you feel this is incorrect, you have the option to request a more thorough review, and then it says review details. So obviously this was a phishing link. What I didn't do was look at the actual email to see if this was really coming from X. Feels like a rookie mistake, but if I also read the email correctly, the email states June 15th, when they in fact sent it to me on June 14th. Now, this is the easiest one, and I love that they put in the email because you can always tell by the @ Now, I think I've seen some where somehow they've been able to mimic like the actual email or change like a certain letter with like a number, and it looks very, very close unless you're paying attention. But info@x-centers.com. Yeah, that's right away. You could just be like, all right, red card it. We know that's we know that's no good. So love that Melina shared that. And again, always watch out for your security concerns. We'll get into that crazy wash of crypto reportings in a moment. But Smoot, love Smoot saying, are you this old? Do you remember this collection. It is called Ghosts. And they've done a couple different things where they've had a multitude of collections where there was a whole bunch of them that you could mint for cheap. There was ones that were one of ones. Yo, Buffalo Space knows the goods. And scrolling through, I was kind of surprised because they haven't posted since May, it looks like. But they had a lot of different one of ones. I actually love the collection. I thought that it was super neat and had like a particular style to it. They've done certain components of doing a merchandise, which was really, really cool. But here's an example of what some of the other pieces look like. I have a ton that are worthless now. Yo, you actually have a ton of them? Damn. Well, they're listed for 0.64. Was it auctions? Or how do they distribute it? Because I sort of forget. But this was one of the original, we're buying NFTs purely for the art. It was a very niche community. It was 353 ETH in volume. If we go check out the activities for the last sale, can we take away transfers and just do sales? So if we scroll back to a year ago, going for like an ETH, 2 years ago, 3 ETH, 11 ETH, $6,000, 10 ETH, 7, 9, 5, 36,000, 25 ETH. I mean, it only lets me go about this far. Pause and hover. So yeah, I mean, one of these sold for 40 ETH 3 years ago. So this was a massive collection. But it's just weird. So is the rationale for this collection kind of falling off due to the fact that the artist has kind of not been as active in the past several months? I don't necessarily think that's it. I think that we do have kind of like a culture and what ends up getting hot and people noticing something and collectively saying, all right, we think that has value. And I think the artist for this is awesome, right? Like I looked at one of these before, but it does kind of suck that it's like, it just doesn't feel like there's a whole lot going on for that right now. It was like a surprise drops, which you couldn't get away with these days. People wanted that. The weirdest change that probably, I don't know if it's really that odd per se to like think about when you say it out loud, but there was a point when, because there was Skull Kids as well, that people did random drops all of a sudden, similar to almost NBA Top Shot, when they were like, hey, we're going to do a drop, and it was in like an hour or something. You're like, oh my goodness. But there was a lot of accounts that started getting compromised, and there was like a flush of, okay, is this a real mint? Is this a fake one? Because you were supposed to have this element of surprise that, you know, got the juices flowing. Everybody was excited about it. And then they had to stop that because everybody needs to know for security reasons. You had to be in their Discord, and he would just drop a collection, and you had to rush and put bids on it. He would tell you exactly what to bid. They would only accept the first like 10 to 20 with correct bids, stuff like that. Listen, history. We love it. Yellow Panther in a short span of 6 months. These are the Web3 games and studios that shut down or pivot to Web2. A massive respect to every builder building in the Web3 gaming industry. F's in the chat for those that have fallen. Play in Terrace, Battlebound, Blade of God X, Blast Royale, Celeros Game, Champions IO, Derby Race Game, Play Ember Sword, Gombles, Hello Monster, Jungle, Cryptomon, Loot Legends, Play Metalcore, Invite to Mystery, Nyan Heroes, Planet Mojo, Realms of Alluria, Resurgent Game, RoboKid, RumbleKongs, I forgot about that. Tat Sumiku, The Walking Dead Empires. That's interesting. That was one of the Gala Games ones, and Valeria Studios. And the thing about all of this is for the people that were speculating on the different assets, saying, hey, there's a game, there's going to be something that we want to do with this. There's like zero recourse. There's like nothing you could do. And I think people are aware and sure there's like the self-interest of, all right, we kind of got screwed over on this. But it feels bad. And you don't know as well of like, are the teams aware that something was coming to an end? Is everybody blindsided? Was there any way to potentially make the end of something less worse than it was? Then you go around, all right, well, what were the budgeting? What were they spending on certain stuff and just everything else? And it feels bad because we're all here. We're following the space. We're excited about something. And the other component of it that I'd make the argument to if we're kind of, you know, tossing our gloves down and we're throwing up the fists is there's so many people that were like, yo, you got to get into something newer. You got to get into something newer over the past 2 years. And a lot of the new stuff, it's not really any different than some of the older ones. If we look at this and say, okay, when did one collection launch versus another one? A lot of them are the same. Not all of them have the same fate. But it sucks to see. This was yesterday. Multiple crypto-based platforms have been suspended on X, including BullX, Pump Fun, GM, and more. Is this an attack on crypto? So how do you explain this? How do you rationalize it? Well, there's a few different ways. Number one, you'd say, all right, maybe there's just somebody out there that's working on X that's like, I hate crypto, and having a personal vendetta and going out and just suspending these accounts. Because people were suggesting that there was some sort of insider, maybe money to take down competition, because we've seen conversations around that popping up where apparently certain creators were like paid not to talk positively around certain chains, which I don't have proof of that. They were just saying. Is this similar to YouTube? That was another rationale that people gave, because a couple years ago, well, maybe a year ago, probably more, it felt like there was a whole bunch of crypto-related accounts that were getting suspended or got violations. And sure, I mean, I would argue when you go and look at a lot of stuff in crypto, it's not like this show where we just generally talk about stuff. It's like, have you seen the next 100x friend? Right? So it could be that, where they're saying, hey, you know what? A lot of this stuff is speculative. We're not allowed to support this. Maybe there was somebody that went out and tried suing X saying, hey, you guys are having these platforms promoting these things. Probably unlikely. Maybe it was a run-of-the-mill accidente. Or maybe they were trying to cluster, right? Maybe there's files behind X where they're like, every account that's crypto-related is now in this file. And then they accidentally click something that shut them all down. We'll see. Thailand has approved a 5-year tax exemption on crypto capital gains valid through 2029. Is anybody moving? We're traveling. From Boa. Was curious, so looked at what's on TikTok's shop in the US, and there are dozens of likely fraudulent and compromised hardware wallets for sale. Never been more important to purchase hardware wallets directly from the source. Now, there was a big wallet provider, I believe, yesterday that posted somebody lost, or maybe it was this morning, lost like $6 million, something insane, to a compromised variation of this. And then everybody's response is like, you know, buy from the official links, et cetera, et cetera. But just be stupidly careful. And I have seen some reports as well over on Steam. Apparently there was a game and add-on something that they were downloading, and it was like malicious malware that was disguised. And there was somebody that lost a bunch of money from that as well. So just be aware. If you're out there gaming, doing whatever, maybe have a different computer. Maybe only go for like the absolute cleanest of clean for launchers and be safe. Not even 5 minutes into the games, James Johnson is a certified tattletale crybaby. I've never seen this before, but I thought I would highlight it. So I guess somebody got courtside seats on the NBA Finals and started just yapping at the players. So one of the attendance referees, whatever, go over and gave them this warning sticker. Warning. You're being issued a warning that the comments, gestures, and or behaviors you have directed at players, coaches, game officials, arena staff, and or spectators are in violation of the NBA Fan Code of Conduct. If this is the first and only warning you will receive, this is the first and only warning you will receive. If after receiving this warning you continue to violate the NBA Fan Code of Conduct, you'll be immediately ejected from the arena without a refund. How much do you think those courtside tickets cost? That is the question. And then finally, big shout out to freaking Jeremy coming on through. Now being the marketing and content director for Vibes.
Vibes TCG has everything. Exciting mechanics, cute and polished art, and a passionate community. So, that's why I'm excited to announce that I've officially joined the Vibes team. I'm here to help build something amazing with you all. Let's kick it off by you showing me your favorite decks to run on the ladder. Post it, tag us, and tell me why you vibe with it. I'll be highlighting some of my favorite and their creators across our socials. Vibes TCG has so many events, prizes, and expansions in store, including Set 2 Legend of the Littles coming just around the corner. Let's huddle up and build this together.
And that's great. And for anybody that doesn't know, like, Jeremy was one of the first people that ever tuned into the stream here and was super helpful with setting up Discords, everything else way back in the day. And it's funny because, it's interesting because you have so many people that you meet throughout the years, and there's a lot of people that say, hey, you know what, I don't want to do anything with this industry. And then there's also a lot of people that are wanting to continue and do something and build within the industry and finding their home. So shout out to Yo Jeremy for that. And that's going to do it for this edition of XFeed, Buffalo Space. Thank you so much for coming on through. And everybody else watching afterwards, if you guys are wanting to have more content, of course, you can go back, check out the live stream or my page on X, go through all the other videos and content. And of course, we do the RWA Segments podcast. So if you're on YouTube, you can check the link down below or on any podcasting platform and listen to me talk a little bit about RWAs with some of the brightest minds in the industry. Have a phenomenal rest of your day. Talk to you tomorrow. Peace.